Hello everybody and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be doing some more Heart of Thorns news. Today in particular, something very exciting came out with the map API. Someone listed it as data mining on Reddit, which technically really isn't, which gives us some more looks at the new map Verdant Brink, which we'll talk about in just a second, plus some other stuff to do with World vs. World. I will clarify at the beginning of this video, I've had a couple of people asking me, hey WP, how come you're only doing news at the moment? I do want to just clarify to you all that I do have a growing list of non-news related Guild Wars stuff I do want to be getting to very soon. It's just that for right now, it's kind of news or nothing, but I promise more stuff is on the way. Alright, so the first thing I wanted to talk about was something that happened over the weekend. May have died down now, but I believe the change is still in place. Someone could correct me in the comments if this has changed. But World vs. World was experiencing a lot of lag. In fact, for a while now, people have been complaining saying, hey, World vs. World is super laggy, no one's listening. Often, if you're a player and you say you're lagging, and you take it to the devs, I think they kind of assume it's more of a client-side thing more often than not, before they really see, hey, this is affecting a whole ton of people. I've certainly noticed that World vs. World gets ridiculously laggy. We've always known it's prone to lag when big zergs start clashing in maps. Well, I think perhaps the added stress of more people playing with Heart of Thorns on the horizon may have exacerbated this issue. Anyway, a dev actually started talking about this and explained what they were seeing from their end, and actually some changes went into World vs. World, ultimately resulting in the map cap being lowered. So especially on tier 1, I've noticed this quite a lot. It's still happening right now. Often you're going to see there's a lot more queues, and there's going to be longer queues than normal, even on nights that aren't, you know, World vs. World reset nights. It's just around reset you tend to have bigger queues. Supposedly this is because the map cap did get decreased in sort of an interim fix to the lag issue. Here's a couple of quotes from the devs though, the Red posts on the forums and actually over on Reddit as well. Hi all, we're aware of the problem, we're working on a solution. In the past, CPU usage would cause server lag. 100% CPU usage is not good. However, we're not seeing that now, so I'm not sure lowering the map capacity will actually fix it, though I might try it anyway, which is what happened. They're going to say instead now we're seeing lag curves server side that grow over about a 5 to 10 minute period and then try to resolve themselves. For instance, I see an Eternal Battlegrounds map right now in Europe that just had one of these spikes. Over a 2 minute period, the server fell behind by 40 seconds, yikes, and then caught up over the next 2 minutes. The server CPU during this time did not actually exceed 80%. So they do have an issue. If you're a World vs. World, you've been feeling this. They did drop the map cap, and I don't know how much that's resolved things, but that's been going on, and I wanted to throw out there as a bit of a PSA for you guys. Moving on, here's something kind of cool. Do you remember last week we talked about, with the data mining, how a new version of Rata Sum had appeared? There were a couple of new maps on there, but it was hard to see what was actually different about those maps. You know, they were just showing like the lower layer and I believe the council chamber level. Well, it turns out that these new Rata Sum maps have appeared because the entire city has moved. So this is really kind of cool. Here's the post. These are a couple of images, again created by that shaman, always very busy working on these things. We can check out the exact difference. So this is the original Rata Sum here on the left. This is it with respect to Metrica province. And so if you pay attention to these lines, which are the same place across the image, as you can see, and we follow where things line up, we can watch this yellow line, and it kind of crosses over here near this this valley type structure. And if you look over here on this side of the map, it's actually a lot lower down. Much better to look at would be, say, the green line here, which in the original version of the map lined up as so. And then if we look at the new map, which is the same place over here at Metrica province, the actual entire city has moved down. And so this isn't like some kind of lore thing. Obviously, Rata Sum is a floating city, okay? And so it would be kind of cool for us to say, oh, maybe the Asura actually moved the cube down. No, this is everything. This is all the terrain. Look at like this star-shaped structure here. Was this the Polymocarinas or something? This has even been dropped down. The entire thing has been shifted very subtly, and a long time before Heart of Thorns releases. Why? I believe as many have speculated, this is because ArenaNet are making room for something. So here we see kind of a bigger version of the map. This is actually the old one and the new one overlaid together, and that's why it looks kind of blurry. So it's a slight change, but why have they moved Rata Sum in its entirety down? Obviously physically, because this is a different instance to the Metrica province instance, if you like. We're never going to experience this except for on the texture on the map. But why have they done this? Probably to allow them some more room to the north of the city, right? So we've got this area to the west of Metrica province. This is a pretty good hint, pretty good I would say, that we may be seeing a new map appearing there with Heart of Thorns. So far, we've only really heard about 2 maps, and the positioning of one of them, Verdant Brink, is far to the north. It's actually west of the Silver Wastes. So this could be another thing that they're adding. It's actually a great place. If you look at the map, if you zoom out, it's one of those perfect areas where it's like, well, we should slot a zone in here. In fact, I've always kind of thought that they should slot a zone in between Rata Sum and the Grove. Your experience of traveling around the Tarnished Coast in Guild Wars 2 is very different to how it felt in Guild Wars 1, where you were actually in this area and we had the Tarnished Haven and all that kind of good stuff. So maybe we'll see one here also, but this shifting down, that's pretty cool. I was actually talking to World of Enders, who I do some videos with over on his channel lately, and he mentioned, oh, does this suggest perhaps that maybe they never planned to have this map here a long time ago? Well, maybe they did, and maybe now that they've just started working on it, realised they want that tiny little bit more room to make things even out a bit more. Anyway, kind of cool, and this actually feeds into the next thing that I want to talk about, which is a pretty exciting topic. Because of this shifting down, people who work with the Guild Wars 2 API, the map API, kind of noticed things were a little bit off. They noticed that because the map artwork had shifted down while the waypoints and so forth hadn't, everything was slightly off. Like, their waypoints were appearing a bit above, and there was a post that someone made on the forum saying, hey, am I just doing something wrong, or is there some kind of actual issue here? And the devs did respond and say, yes, we will refresh the map so that everything lines up very shortly. Now, on April 3rd, that happened. When that happened, as I'm led to believe, or very recently, maybe this only appeared today, it also added a bunch of other stuff into the Guild Wars 2 map API, revealing stuff to do with the expansion. And so here you can see one of the kind of standard websites or tools that we have, or that people have designed that make use of the Guild Wars map API. This is Gw2Timer.com. It's an incredibly useful website. I've never properly covered it on the channel before, but this is great for if you're doing the world boss chains, which many people do, or if you generally want to see what's going on around the world. If I was logged into Guild Wars 2 right now, it would actually have my player position represented somewhere on Tyria, and it will jump around every time a new boss spawns. It will move you directly to it. Great website. But it's pulling these maps directly from ArenaNet. And when everything refreshed, if we have a look over here, the edge of the world, you'll notice our position is all the way up here. You'll notice, all of a sudden, yes, Rata Sum's down here and it's been shifted, and this is the map that supposedly will get added soon. Fairly reasonable sized map. Also, I would say, don't forget that Guild Wars 2 maps are supposedly going to have 3 biomes, so you can almost triple the supposed playable space. No, that's not going to line up one for one. I think you'd be folly to assume that there is an immaculate underground cave area for every map, and then there's a regular level area, and then there's also the sky area. And not everywhere's going to be explorable like that, but you can kind of triple it, I suppose. And you know, if this is all just one map, then we're already talking, we're bigger than Metrica Province, for example. Maybe they'll split it in half, and then if each is worth 3 times more, who knows? There you go, the map just moved because the world boss just changed to the Claw of Jormag. So anyway, this will be quite big, but over here, obviously, the exciting thing that I want to talk about is the addition of a new map. This is Verdant Brink. I've shown you guys a couple of images before that Shaman has been showing us, piecing together waypoints that have been data mined and so forth. The waypoints won't appear here, it's just a texture update, but this is the map, and this is from ArenaNet directly now. Okay, we can very clearly see this is where this thing is supposed to be placed. Now, I can tell you from knowledge of Guild Wars 1 stuff, we did get to explore this area in the previous game. Bloodstone Fen, which is an incredibly important place, actually would take place north of this map a little, I believe slightly to the left even, which makes me curious why this has kind of got a diagonal slant. You'll notice they're still kind of sticking with this rectangular formation for their maps, which many people weren't ever happy with, but this is obviously just slapped in here. Okay, so these harsh lines we're not going to be seeing when they clean everything up. I'm going to take you to an image that Shaman's made of it cleaned in just a second, but as we zoom in, you actually notice the texture clarifies itself a little. We just have this one layer that often does this, and we get to see one of the biomes. The thing that we're looking at here seems like it's the canopy layer, or at least the layer that I don't know whether it's technically the canopy we've been on. I don't think it has. Maybe this is just the regular level, and here you can see this is where we've been playing in the betas, in the demos, and should we drop down here, these black areas, these would be the lower floors, and obviously we've got another layer that would appear on top, near like the packed flagship here, for example, where we would fight the Wyvern, okay, which we teleported to in the demo. So we can look at this map. I believe this texture is updated from previous ones we've seen, has a lot more clarity. Pretty cool. We got, I think this is actually the flagship here. I think these are just, you know, various airships. But if this is the glory of Tyria, perhaps, who knows? But this one's certainly very, very big. And generally, it's pretty cool to look at. I want to pick a couple of things for you guys. Number one, let's look at how it connects to... and here we got this weird circular thing up here, which is very curious. Is this Bloodstone Fen? It's supposed to be to the north. I don't know, is that a bit too much to speculate there already? What I wanted to look at, okay, is how it connects to Tyria. And as you'll see, it's not actually flush with Dry Top, this being Dry Top, or the Silver Waste, this being the Silver Waste, at all. It's kind of sort of in the middle of them a little. So how would we actually travel initially to this map? I found this kind of interesting. Now, Dry Top down here, around about, actually has the underground Inquest Cave. Maybe it's even further south here, with that door. And I always thought that door was going to be a way into the new map. And I thought it was going to be, hopefully, it would be a portal entrance to the new map, but it would take you immediately into the underground biome, where perhaps if you entered the new map from somewhere around the repair station waypoint, you would enter the new map from, you know, the upper levels or the regular areas. It doesn't look like that at all now, though, so if there ever is going to be an exit to Dry Top, it would suggest, no, from the positioning here, we're going into a totally different map, or maybe even this new one here that they're making room for with Rata Sum that's going to be going to the south. So that already was pretty interesting to me. Second was that it seems more in line with the Oasis, so we're going to have some kind of exit near the Oasis. If we have a look at the new map, it does seem like there's some kind of pathway here, and a nice plateau, and down in this bottom corner, perhaps, we would then have a portal. Though I'm going to come back to this in a second because there's no clear marking of portal here. Silver Waste may be a little bit more interesting. Again, another thing I thought could have happened. There we go, we've moved again. Another thing that I thought could have happened with the Silver Waste is it would be somewhere behind the Vine Wrath. You know, I'm not suggesting that they would lock you off, that you'd have to kill the Vine Wrath to enter the expansion areas. Though that kind of system is what I always sort of wanted to see for the Orion maps. Like, you'd have to push through the straits properly. Anyway, I don't think they were ever going to do that. But instead, it seems perhaps we'll enter the new map from underground again. Like, so maybe the entrance is somewhere here, near this river, but as we all know from the Silver Waste, or hopefully we know, the only way to access this giant chamber here, this is the Squid jumping puzzle. And again, that doesn't seem very likely to me, so we may see some more major changes to the terrain of the current maps than we'd expect. The one thing I would hate them to treat it like they treated South Sun Cove. I don't want them to drag and drop maps into the game that have no connection elsewhere just because it's like the expansion or something and we have to get a boat or a portal. South Sun Cove always should have had a connection somewhere up in Caledon Forest, and I'm kind of sour it still doesn't. And unfortunately from the art, it almost looks like it's going to be difficult for them to accomplish this, but again, it's very work in progress. Now, talking about the portal thing, what about exits to this map? Well, it does seem that there is an exit. If we come all the way down here to the southwestern corner, I was always following this line very closely with my eye, hoping I could see some kind of the exit to the map here. But at least it looks like there is a portal exit here. And, I mean, that seems pretty clear to me, which would suggest we're going much deeper into the jungle. Don't forget, this is the very edge of the map, right? The very, very edge of the map. So, this would then suggest we're going to move deeper down here into some of these very detailed, grassy-looking areas. And actually, when you look at the art, I can imagine Morgemoth being somewhere deep down here. So this is pretty cool. Why do we see a portal quite clearly here and a path quite clearly here, but not over on this side? Well, it could just be that like this whole section here is a low underground area, and when we initially enter Verdant Brink, we're going to do it from underground somehow, and that's not represented in the art of this map. So that's pretty cool. So talking about that shaman, we then did get this wonderful image here. So this is all the information we've had so far. So we've got Farron's Flyer, and look, you can now see it absolutely lines up here. And just generally a more detailed, awesome look at the way that this map is going to run around. Here's Lethal Vantage, the adventure that we saw, the Shrouded Ruins, and so on. I'll have a link to this map in the description down below if you guys want to look at it for yourselves. Lastly, someone else did something pretty interesting. They looked at various assets that had been found and tried to mark them on where they could be on the map. So here, this kind of rock bridge which was found. Well, maybe these are the rock bridges that they're talking about. We've got some of these vines here, another vine bridge, and it's pretty cool. May give you some idea of the scale of the things that we'll be encountering. So I will talk a little bit about why this is even here. Why is this a thing? Why can we see this? Well, it's probably because of the beta. Why is this in the regular live Guild Wars 2 client? As we've seen from their stress tests, they're doing things very non-standard for the beta. The betas will actually participate in the live game, in the live environment. That is not normal for ArenaNet. Betas that I've been in, previews that I've been in, stress tests that I've been in, these have all taken place on separate clients. ArenaNet have like 3 or maybe even 4 or more different clients running all the time in the background that you can connect to under different circumstances. I was very much expecting the beta for Heart of Thorns to be a new client that we'd have to download. The perfect world, though, is of course that it's not, and you just get to log into Guild Wars 2 while the beta is going on with your existing account. Maybe you can make some new characters and run through it, and we've seen that that's how they're doing things. So now that means that whatever they want us to beta, that's already downloaded, that's already in the live environment, that's already in our client. So that's pretty cool, and that's why we're probably seeing that here, and it means that there'll be plenty we can hopefully mine out of this kind of thing. So lastly, just to cap the video off, I did want to clarify to you guys that the cap on the amount of gold that you can transfer, you know, the large sums of gold that will be locked on your account, that change did now go in, and also apparently it counts for items too. I have no idea how that works, but that has been dropped into the game now, so that is something also to consider, and has gone through. That's about it though, guys. Thank you very much for watching. As I say, there will be more non-news things as the news winds down coming up very shortly. I hope you're still enjoying though, and I guess I will see you tomorrow for another video.